Jamie Raskin is finally launching an investigation into Donald Trump's dementia, and thank God. Not enough attention has been paid to the fact that our president is in deep cognitive decline and putting us all in danger because of it. There has to be accountability, and there should be, because there already are systems in place for that accountability to come. The 25th Amendment, impeachment, hell, the Democrats' war powers resolution would put checks on Donald Trump to stop our cognitively declining president from destroying our country and attempting to destroy the world. But that hasn't happened. And it is because the men leading up the supposed co-equal branch of government that should be putting a check on Donald Trump have done everything possible to stop that. And that is what we are seeing from Mike Johnson again. It is what I want to get into in this video, along with a breakdown of this coming investigation, plus more from Marjorie Taylor Greene. We got a lot to cover, but before we get to this investigation and how Johnson is responding, I want to start with what made it come about, and that is Donald Trump's insane threat to end civilization post and what he did at the Easter egg roll. Lawrence O'Donnell broke it all down right here before we get into this investigation.
This is why the 25th Amendment was written. It was ratified in 1967, authorizing the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to remove the president from power when and if that president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. The 25th Amendment was written for the day when the Democratic leader of the United States Senate could credibly say, quote, "The president is ranting like an unhinged madman," as he said yesterday. It was impossible to imagine, back when they wrote the 25th Amendment, it was impossible for them to imagine a day with the President of the United States ranting like an unhinged madman until Donald Trump took the oath of office. The 25th Amendment was written for the day when a former Republican member of Congress who voted for that Republican president 3 times would declare to the world, "He has gone insane." The 25th Amendment was written for yesterday at 8:03 a.m. That's what Donald Trump delivered his Easter greeting to the world that included a promise to commit war crimes on Tuesday night. The 25th Amendment was written for this. Most of you have seen this profane and perverse social media post. I am not going to read it, as is customary for such exhibits introduced on TV news programs, because it is pure warmongering, filthy madness. We can put it back up on the full screen for anyone who hasn't read it to actually finish reading it right now. I will not use it as an opportunity for audiences to get to hear another anchorman using the dirty word. I will not read Donald Trump's poison aloud because it is beneath my dignity, and that's not a phrase I use very often. And we should all be deeply concerned about living in a country where an anchorman's dignity, indeed the dignity of anyone, anywhere in the country, on any television show, is much higher than the dignity of the depraved President of the United States. But that is where we are tonight.
The 25th Amendment exists for a time like this. Impeachment exists for a time like this. A madman president, unable to do the job cognitively, not fit for the job morally, unable to have been able to run. He shouldn't have been able to run for president. He is a criminal. He tried to overturn the 2020 election. We never should have gotten here in the first place. Only if Merrick Garland had done his job, we wouldn't have. But this is where we are. And there should be accountability. There should be those stepping up. We are seeing a historic number of Republicans leave, quit, retire, and resign rather than doing what is their constitutionally obligated duty and being a co-equal branch of government standing up to Trump. But someone is. and doing it in the way that I think counts most right now, because Donald Trump's cognitive decline might be causing more damage than anything else in our government. It is why Jamie Raskin is investigating it, and it is why Mike Johnson is shutting down the House. Scott McFarlane of Midas Touch reports ranking member of House Judiciary Committee Jamie Raskin formally asked the White House physician to conduct cognitive exams of Donald Trump, citing Truth Social post and Trump's statement at the Easter egg roll. Experts have reportedly warned the president that he has been exhibiting signs consistent with dementia and cognitive decline, and in recent days the country has watched Donald Trump's public statements and outbursts turn increasingly incoherent, volatile, profane, deranged, and threatening. One of those weird moments at the Easter egg roll wasn't just Donald Trump's insane remarks, but this very strange moment when he put his hand on a little girl's stomach. It was just very weird and kind of went overlooked. But Jamie Raskin is right, especially as of late. Donald Trump and his threats against the world have been increasingly insane and dangerous. And that is why, major breaking, House Republicans have slammed the gavel and killed the War Powers Resolution vote on Operation Epic Fury. Democrats erupted on the floor chanting shame as Christopher Smith, a representative in the Republican Party, shut down the House, declaring recess as Mike Johnson has called for last week. But House Democratic leadership issued a joint statement describing Donald Trump as completely unhinged and is pressing Speaker Mike Johnson to reconvene the House, and has been this entire week, although it is not scheduled to return from an unnecessary recess until April 14th. The House must come back into session and immediately vote to end this reckless war of choice in the Middle East before Donald Trump plunges our country into World War III. So Mike Johnson, in an effort to defend our cognitively declining president, is shutting down the House. We have been in an extended and unnecessary recess. There has truly never been a more important time for there to be checks on Donald Trump from our Congress, and not just from our Congress, but the media. What are y'all doing in corporate media? He falls asleep every single day in public. He can't remember whether or not he declared his war a victory or ongoing for the next 2 weeks. Donald Trump is in deep cognitive decline, and not only does it make him more erratic, but it exaggerates the worst parts of him. And I know all of the parts of him are the worst parts of him. But Donald Trump's insecurity truly drives everything happening in this administration. I always come back to this moment. I think it is especially important right now. Donald Trump is covered in bruises. He's got cankles. He's slurring. His face sags because he probably had a stroke. He is very physically insecure. Talk about mentally insecure as well. Donald Trump knows we are observing and talking about his cognitive decline. Tucker Carlson has, Marjorie Taylor Greene has, Alex Jones has, Megyn Kelly did, Candace Owens did. And so what did Donald Trump say about them? That they're low IQ. Because Donald Trump recognizes not only do we know he's dumb as shit, but also he's lost his goddamn mind. And I know that is a difficult thing to process considering how little he ever had it, but no, Donald Trump is much worse. And so he is insecure physically, he is insecure mentally. Donald Trump's entire life has been him riddled with insecurities because mommy and daddy never loved him enough, and so he decided to take it out on the rest of the country. But the moment that I always come back to, and it happened recently, is when the Florida Panthers, the latest NHL Stanley Cup champion, came to the White House. Donald Trump saw some of the best athletes in the world, and he said to them, "Wow, you guys are tough, but I have the U.S. military." And if you don't think that Donald Trump's declining physical state, his declining cognitive state, and everything else about him that is falling apart isn't leading him to act in these ways, to declare that he is going to commit a mass genocide because he feels insecure about, in his own words, not having the cards, this is an entirely easily explainable explanation. Donald Trump's cognitive decline has made him more erratic, and it has only exaggerated and accelerated the insecurity that leads him to make rash decisions, that leads him to make bombastic statements, and that leads him to make dangerous threats that hurt us all. And that is what is happening. The media's refusal to report on Donald Trump's cognitive decline, as it is, as cognitive decline, has put us all in danger. We are going to look back at this years from now and be asking ourselves, what the fuck were these people doing? What were the journalists doing? What were the journalists doing as Donald Trump visibly fell asleep in cabinet meetings? Why did they never once ask with the level of accusatory certainty that they did of Joe Biden, why is your health declining so badly? How do you think your declining health impacts your ability to make decisions? Is your declining health and your declining cognitive state the reason why your handlers don't let you speak at night? Ask a question like, is your declining mental state the reason why you cannot come to a close in a war that never should have started in the first place? Ask those questions. We will look back years from now, and I know there are journalists trying their best. This is not painting in a broad brush, because y'all know I love myself some Lawrence O'Donnell. He talks every single day. It's why we play him on the show all the time about Donald Trump's cognitive state. But we will look back at these journalists as fascist collaborators. They allowed themselves to be silenced. They allowed their fellow journalists, and this happens to Caitlin Collins all the time, to get attacked, to be called dumb, to be told to smile more, and they sit there like incompetent little seals. They're not clapping for dear leaders. Some of them are, the ones at the MAGA media outlets that just go there to send softball layup questions. But they sit there and they don't defend. They don't push back. They've allowed themselves to be silenced. Donald Trump no longer has to take concrete steps to silence journalists. It's not just about buying CBS or buying CNN or Jeff Bezos doing mass layoffs at the Washington Post so there are fewer journalists doing real work. These people are just scared of him. And so they are collaborating in that way with his fascist project. They're allowing it to happen, and we are going to look back and be stunned that they did not push back, that they did not ask more questions, that this wasn't a bigger story. The President of the United States is in deep cognitive decline. The people closest to him know it. The people closest to him who have turned on him are espousing it. Congress needs to investigate every single instance that Donald Trump has showed us his cognitive decline. We need real medical professionals on the record. We need real statements and real accounts and real documents of what Donald Trump's cognitive and physical state is, because it is putting us all in danger. This is the issue I care most about, because it is the one the mainstream media won't talk about at all or in any real way. And so I am going to continue to be hair on fire because someone needs to. Mike Johnson is not letting Congress do its job because he wants to protect Donald Trump. That is wild. That is wild. As always, good on my good friend Jamie Raskin for being a leader, for actually wanting to prosecute this case. Like, thank God we have a Jamie Raskin, that we have a Ro Khanna, that we have a Robert Garcia, that we have an AOC, that we have a Bernie Sanders. Thank God we have these people standing up, because the Democratic leadership is not doing it. We're going to continue to call it all out and report it all on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.